Welcome, Witch. So excited that you are here today for this Pendulum 101 workshop. I am Alex Moran. I'm the creator of Witch and Womb, and I am also a professional psychic. And I've been a professional psychic for almost 11 years now. Definitely about 15 to 20 years where I started dipping into my psychic gifts. But then I stepped into a space of doing it professionally, and now it's my sole source of income for the last several years, almost a decade. So, yeah, I'm really excited because the stuff that we're going to learn today is all of the tricks, the understandings, the wisdom, just basically my experience with pendulum work. I want to preface that, anybody who's teaching pendulum work all have different approaches, just like anything in witchcraft or anything in spirituality. Whatever channel you're learning from it's going to be different from person to person and technique to technique. Because I'm a psychic witch, most of my work is really done through clairvoyance and really developing the third eye and flexing that muscle. So the way that I teach pendulum work is really as a stepping stone into deeper clairvoyant work. So what you're going to need today is basically a pendulum. And a pendulum can be anything that is on a string, a weighted object on a string. So it can be like this, where it's actually a crystal pendulum. It can be a ball on the string. It can be a crucifix that maybe is a necklace that hangs around your neck, or any necklace that has a pendant on it can end up being a pendulum. And it's kind of interesting because back in the days before witchcraft was something that was accepted in society and wasn't really rejected and you weren't made to feel an outcast, a lot of witches would just use their necklaces as pendulums when they needed to ask questions or connect with spirit. So it's kind of like a fun way to kind of have like a secret as you walk around, because witchcraft is so much shrouded in mystery and secretness. It's kind of fun to tap into those resources and those memories when you're doing work. So I do like to use necklaces for pendulum work just for that reason. Anyway, off topic. I want to dive into how do we actually use this pendulum. So I prefer using crystals with any of my pendulum work, especially when I'm starting out. I think that it's a little bit easier if you've never done pendulum work, or if you struggle with pendulum work. I'm getting a yes. If you struggle with pendulum work, using a crystal is a really powerful way to start, because crystals have their own consciousness and crystals have their own movement. We can't see it with the human eye, but they vibrate at a certain frequency. And when we connect with pendulum work using a crystal, it makes the yeses and the nos come so much clearer. So see, my crystal's getting really, really excited about this. So go ahead and grab your pendulum, whatever it is, and we'll go ahead and get started. So before we dive into how to do this and how to actually use the pendulum, I want to talk about why pendulum is an important work in clairvoyance and also in just tapping into your inner witchiness. So, like I said earlier, I like to use the pendulum as a stepping stool or a training wheel for deeper clairvoyant work. And that's because, when we start to really flex that third eye, we can have a lot of invalidation come into our space. We cannot believe what we're creating or what we're seeing. We can second guess ourselves, have a lot of doubt. If we're feeling insecure about it, we might be telling somebody what we're seeing and they're giving us an expression that makes us feel like, oh gosh, that must be wrong. And we start to actually hinder our ability to be clairvoyant. But if we use the pendulum, when you get a yes or a no, it's kind of hard to argue with that when you're tapped into that energy. So I really like to use pendulum work for validation. when we're feeling very invalidated in our ability to read and to get information from spirit, I will use pendulum for just that inner validation. You know, even as a psychic for the past 15 years, I still get invalidated. It's still an energy that's in my space because it's part of what it means to be human. So I remember when I was first learning to flex those muscles, I mean, I had so much invalidation flood my space, and pendulum work really helped me gain that confidence and that security that I'm like, you know what, the information I'm getting is correct. And so I'll definitely use a pendulum to check psychic information I get. So if I have a psychic hit and I'm not feeling insecure about it, I'll do the steps that we're going to do today and tune in and just check, like, was that an accurate vision that I saw? And I'll get a strong yes from my crystal. So it's a really powerful tool for anybody who's struggling with validation when it comes to clairvoyance. Another reason why I like to use pendulum work is it can help us bring about information that maybe we wouldn't have gotten just through a vision. And that's because the pendulum answers questions in a yes or no basis. So we have to ask questions in a certain way where where we will receive a yes or no answer. So, if you go to a psychic, you might ask a question like, when is love coming into my life? And that's a very open ended question. And if you're the psychic who's reading, if you're the one who is going to be using the pendulum, you have to break down that question into a yes or no question. So you might start off with, okay, is love coming into my life? Is the overall theme. So what's the first question? Maybe, is there anything blocking love from entering so and so's life right now? And you'll ask your pendulum and you'll get a yes or no, which I'll show you how to do in a bit. And then you'll ask the next question. So let's say you get a yes. Oh, something's blocking. Okay, then we can ask a deeper question. Is there something blocking the energetic field? Is there something in the chakras? And we start to ask yes or no questions, and we can dial down information that maybe we kind of got stuck with at the beginning. Because if you're just starting to read yourself or other people, if you have an open-ended question, it can be really overwhelming to try and connect to that information. So pendulum work really forces you to break it down into smaller, like more, I don't know, easier to bite off pieces so that you can figure out the information little by little and not be overwhelmed by the bigger theme of the question. Another reason why I love pendulum work is a lot of people don't know that pendulums can actually be used to heal. And you don't have to be a Reiki master. You don't have to, be certified in any kind of healing field. You don't even have to call yourself a healer or feel like you're a healer, because the pendulum work does it all on its own. And I'm going to teach you how to do that in a little bit, but you can clear space in your home. You can clear out space in the chakras in your system. You can heal a relationship. You can heal a circumstance. There's so many different things that you can do with pendulum work from a healing perspective. And I really like to use pendulum work for healing, especially when I'm healing somebody else, because when I'm holding space for somebody else, when they can actually see the pendulum moving and working, it helps them tap into their own clairvoyance and their own imagination so that they can actually heal themselves, because nobody actually heals anybody else, right? We all just facilitate the space for that person to heal themselves. So, healing is a superpower of the pendulum, which is just super exciting, and not a lot of people know that they can use it to heal. And then let's see. Oh, you can also fast forward manifestations and spells, or rewind energy if something went awry in one of your magic spells. And that's kind of exciting because I know a lot of us get impatient when we create a manifestation, when we set an intention, when we do a spell, that it's not happening fast enough. And the pendulum work can help us figure out why it's not happening fast enough. And then also actually start to fast forward the experience. And if something's blocking, we can rewind the spell to the point of blockage, unblock it with the pendulum, and then, wind it back up. These are deeper topics that are beyond the Pendulum 101 workshop that we're experiencing right now, but it's something that can be done, which is really cool. And in the same way, you can rewind or fast forward, intentions and magic. You can also rewind lifetimes and fast forward lifetimes. And so I really love using pendulum work for looking into past lifetimes or parallel lifetimes, because we're able to stop time and actually control it with our pendulum. And that's something in future circles and workshops I will be teaching, especially with the magical creatures workshop that we're going to do. And speaking to your starseed family, those are two ones where we're going to use the pendulum to unwind our timelines and then rewind back to present moment when we're finished. So very, very cool. Okay, so I think I went over all of the ways you can use the pendulum, and I touched on cleansing. You can cleanse your aura decks, you can cleanse crystals, you can cleanse your house. You can do like an aura and chakra cleansing and alignment of chakras. So just like a ton of stuff that you can do with the pendulum. So, all right, are we ready to begin? I am assuming that you have never calibrated your pendulum. And if that's okay, so that's totally okay. What we're going to do today is learn how to calibrate. So, especially when you're working with crystals, any kind of crystals, you always want to calibrate your energy to the crystal so that the crystal's energy and your energy match up. When they don't match, a lot of things can happen, like the crystal can break. That's happened to me so many times where I come in at the energy so intensely that I actually crack crystals. It's kind of a thing that I do, and it's so annoying. So I'll have to down step my my vibration so that it can be at the vibration of the crystal. For a lot of other people, they have to lift up their vibration to match the crystal. And so one of the things that we're going to do right now is learn how to actually calibrate our energy frequency to the pendulum we're working with. And you don't have to have a crystal to do it, but it's just super important to do this step when you are working with crystal pendulum. The other thing I wanted to mention is that crystals are the bridge between the unseen and the seen world. And it's one of the reasons why witches really love crystals, because it helps us connect between the unseen and the seen. And the unseen can be anything. It can be emotions, it can be belief systems, it can be other dimensions, it can be other beings, other spirits. Anything that we can't see with the human eye is the other side that a crystal connects with. And that's another reason why I like to use crystals for pendulum work too. So what we're going to do to calibrate and connect with the personality of our pendulums, because pendulums do have personalities. Sometimes, I think I had mentioned earlier, like I have a lapis lazuli one that is a little bit harsher. She talks to me kind of in a non-BS mode, whereas this crystal quartz one is a little bit more gentle and kind with her answers. And depending on how I want to receive the information, I will choose the personality of my pendulum. So when you start to calibrate your energy with the pendulum, you learn what the personality is, and you can start to develop a relationship with your pendulum. With any divination tool, it's a relationship experience, and the people that can have amazing readings have amazing relationships with their divination tools. So I don't know if you've ever gone to a tarot reader and you're just like, oh my gosh, the information that they get is just so powerful. That's chances are that's because, that specific tarot reader has an incredible relationship with her tools. And the same is with the pendulum. So the stronger your relationship gets with the pendulum, the stronger your information is, the stronger your connection is, and the better you're going to feel, the more confident you're going to feel in working with her. So what we're going to do right now is a quick meditation to calibrate the pendulum that you're holding. with the work that we're going to do today. Before I begin that, there are a couple other ways you can calibrate it if you're not into meditation, because not everybody is. I just find meditation to be the fastest and most powerful way. But you can also sleep with your pendulum under your pillow at night, and at night create the intention of when you're sleeping that your body is calibrating to the energy of the crystal and the crystal is calibrating to the energy of you. You can also walk around with the crystal in your bra. And because, your bra is so close to your heart chakra, that heart chakra really can activate and calibrate your energy field to the crystal's energy field and vice versa. And so that's a really powerful way. I found that it takes a little bit longer to do it that way. Like I probably need to wear it for a couple weeks before I find that it really starts to work well for me. And sleeping maybe like a week, maybe sometimes 2 weeks to do it with sleeping. You can wear it as a necklace so that you have 24/7, and that can speed things up a little bit. So you're, manifesting that calibration a little bit quicker. But I've found that meditation is truly the quickest way to calibrate, like instantly. So let's do a little meditation that you can calibrate your pendulum with your aura, and then we can start using it.
Let's begin by holding our pendulum in our non-dominant hand. And let's take 3 deep breaths in through the nose and out through the mouth. In through the nose, out through the mouth. In through the nose, out through the mouth. Just bringing yourself into the present moment. I'd like you to hold your pendulum against your heart chakra. Just feel your heart beat against the pendulum in your hand and create an instant connection between your heart and the pendulum. Connecting to our guides, our master guides, our angels, our guardian angels. Just invite into your space the energies and spirits that are connected to your work with divination, with psychic skills, with witchiness, and with your power to receive crystal clear information through your pendulum. Call in the watchkeepers, the angels, the elements. Call in your ancestors. Call in your past lives where you had a lot of validation from reading from your third eye, and you've had complete sovereignty over your crown chakra. As you call everybody in, just imagine a fiery flame of purple energy completely surrounding you and all of your guides and all of your angels. Cast a sacred circle around your space, around the energy of the room. And just ask that this purple flame transmute anything that is not love, that approaches your circle, or that is inside your circle. Ask it to transmute it into love and light. And just trust yourself and trust the flame to hold the space sacred for you as you start to calibrate and connect with your pendulum. I want you to find the center of your head. You can say, hello, center of head, hello, hello, hello. And just bring your awareness to the exact middle of your head. And try to sit there for a moment and notice what comes up for you as you calibrate and hold the pendulum. This is the space through which you will be reading all information that comes through your pendulum. So just notice if maybe you need to create a stronger grounding cord for yourself. Let's go ahead and just do that. Now that we're in the center of our heads, go ahead and break off all grounding cords you've been using up until this point. Snap them off and allow them to fall down into the center of the earth to be recycled and returned. And using your imagination, I want you to just bring up, create, invoke the strongest grounding cord you've ever created thus far in your life. Bring it up through the center of the earth, up through all of the layers of magma and lava and rock and water and earth, bursting through the floor beneath you and plugging in to your first chakra. Let your aura also plug into that grounding cord. So you might need to make your grounding cord a little bit bigger so that it can fit the space all around you. And maybe you want to make it as big as your room. As you hold that pendulum in your hand, you might start to feel it vibrate. And just ask the pendulum to start to calibrate your energy to your energy, and ask your body to start to calibrate to the energy of the pendulum. And take a deep breath, releasing anything that won't let you trust the process. Releasing any resistance down that beautiful grounding cord you just created. Any confusion as to, am I doing this right? Allow that to go down your grounding cord. Any invalidation that shows up, or any other emotions, any anger, any frustration, any thoughts that think you can't do this or you're not good enough. Send those all down your grounding cord using your imagination and just letting yourself play. And just trust that the pendulum that's in your hand is starting to calibrate to your heart chakra, to your aura, and to your energy field. And from that place of trust, I'd like you to turn your attention to the top of your head. Allow your crown chakra to turn to a beautiful liquid gold color, full of sprinkles and sparkles, full of smiley faces and enthusiasm and fun, energy. And just ask your crown to stay at that color for the duration of this calibration and the duration of your reading, so that you can have crystal clear energy when you work with your pendulum. Take a breath and release anything else that won't let you vibrate with enthusiasm, that won't let you calibrate your pendulum, that won't let you be here in the present moment. And when you're ready, you can blink your eyes open and move on to the next step of this Pendulum 101 workshop.
Okay, now that we have calibrated our pendulums, I want to talk about the first step of getting to know her. And one of the things that a lot of us don't realize is how you hold your pendulum is going to determine how powerful the answers are. So there's a couple tricks that are very helpful. One is it's really great to place your elbow on a table so that you're not having to hold your arm up. When you have to hold your arm up, a lot of invalidation comes from like, oh, I'm moving my arm, so I'm moving the crystal and or the pendulum, and I'm not getting accurate information. So to minimize that, let's just put our elbows on the table and hold our pendulums in front of us. Another thing, another trick is to not hold your pendulum like this. There's something about this with the wrist. It creates stress, it creates some tension, and we start to allow the body to kind of cramp up when we're trying to do it like this. And yeah, it kind of looks witchy to do it like this, but I found that it's a lot harder, especially in the beginning, to develop a relationship with the crystal when she is like this. So instead, what you can do is place it in your hand and allow the chain to come over your finger like this. So instead of hanging like this, it comes over that front finger. And I like to put the front finger out just like this because it creates a little bit of a stability and I can get a little bit more information. You can also go like this and close your finger on top of the chain, and that kind of closes the circuit, and I get a lot more information that way as well. So even if you're doing like this, I always like to have the circuit closed and put my thumb just like that, touching it whether on top or behind. So the way I normally hold it is like this, and you can see my thumb closes the circuit. Okay, so now we know how to hold it. Now our pendulums are calibrated. How do we actually start using it? Well, we need to understand what our yeses are and what our nos are and what our maybes are and what our ask it a different way are. And if you want, you can create a paper that is like a pendulum mat if you don't have an actual pendulum mat, and use your pendulum to show you how to decide if it's a yes or if it's a no, if it's a maybe or whatnot. Um, a lot of people like that method. I am kind of a lazy witch, and I feel like that's a lot of work to get the mat out and to sit there and do it and try and figure out if this is yes, if this is a no. I like to just figure out if what my yeses are, what my nos are, what my babies are in the beginning, and then I can just go into reading because I get too anxious to actually start reading. So either way, whatever works for you, I'm going to be teaching how to just move into it and start reading. So holding your pendulum in front of you, right, and closing that circuit, I want you to just ask your pendulum to show you a yes. Okay, and see, I've already am thinking yes in my mind, and so my pendulum is starting to show me a yes. So my yes goes in a, what is that, clockwise direction for me. So what you'll do is just hold it in your hand and you'll say, show me a yes, show me a yes, and then just keep saying over and over and over, yes, 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 yes. Okay, yes, 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 until you get a definitive answer. This can take a couple minutes. So if it's kind of hard for you right now, just go ahead and pause the video and then just keep working on your yeses. If you're feeling like it's not happening, what you can do is place your hand right underneath the pendulum like this. That neutralizes it. So in between questions, I always place my hand under. In between yes and no's, I'll always place my hand, and you'll see that the pendulum like will kind of stop and will go in the other direction because it'll start to neutralize whatever it is. And then you can open your hand up again and say, show me a yes, show me a yes, show me a yes. There you go. Show me a yes. There you go. Perfect. So your yes can be very dramatic and can be like a big yes, And I know that sometimes when I start to get into reading, I get big yeses. Or it can be kind of little. Whatever it is, just allow it to be what it is, and don't worry too much about, if it's going good or strong or small, but just get a definitive yes before you move on to the next question. And yours isn't going to be like mine. Your yes might be counterclockwise, or it might be side to side, or it might be front to back, or even it might be completely still. That might be your yes, where it's just completely dead and has no vibration. So, whatever it is for you, just make a mental note of it. And we're going to move on, placing our hands underneath to neutralize. And we're going to say, show me a no, show me a no, show me a no, show me a no. And so my no goes counterclockwise. I moved it. And so she's so funny. She's like, let me do it. Let me lead. I don't want you to do it. So I moved it by accident. And she's just like, stop. So funny. So sorry, you go first. So show me a no. Show me a no. Show me a no. There we go. Show me a no. And if you're having trouble, like really finding your yes and your no, try not to look directly at the crystal, because sometimes when we look directly at the crystal, we're trying to use our willpower rather than opening up our crown chakras and our third eyes and using our psychic powers. So, have you ever seen those like holographic images where you kind of have to stare past the image in order to see the image pop out in a 3D way? I kind of want you to do that when you look at your crystal. I want you to stare past it. I don't want you to focus right in on it. I want you to kind of look past it, because that puts us in a trance where we can really connect in a psychic way. So just keep saying, show me no, 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 no. And it might get stronger. It might be it might be little, it might be just vibrating. So just figure out what your no is and make sure that it's different from your yes. Okay. And if you're having some, trouble, or you need some time, go ahead and pause the video and keep asking, show me a no, show me a no, show me a no. And if you need to stop, place your hand underneath and then you can start again. Okay. So let's go back. Let's place our hands underneath and let's go back to show me a yes. 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 There you go. And make sure that you're getting the same yes. If you're not, that's okay. Maybe you're still calibrating. So show me a yes and just make a note of what your yes is. And then place your hand underneath and say, show me a no. 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 Perfect. Okay. Great. So I was holding it like this just to show you. So you can still say yes and no this way. Give me yes, right? Give me no. But it's just so much easier to learn this way. All right. Now we can ask ourselves to show me a maybe. Show me a maybe. Show me a maybe. So my maybe is always front and back like this. Front and back. That's my maybe. So because I've been working with this pendulum for a very long time and I'm very confident in my pendulum skills, it's really easy for me to move between yes, no, maybe. Sometimes my maybe is also ask another way. So I'll have to come up with a different type of question so I can get a yes or no answer. So just spend a few minutes playing back and forth with your yes, with your no, and with your maybe. And unfortunately, this isn't a live circle, so I can't help you if you're stuck. But just a couple tricks to remember is if you're having problems getting a strong yes, no, or maybe, make sure the circuit's closed on your hand. You might want to change the length of your pendulum. Sometimes if it's too long, it can be really hard because it takes so much longer for like a circle to happen. If sometimes if it's too short, you can't tell the difference between what it's doing, and it just kind of looks like it's vibrating. So just play with the length of the chain, and make sure that's closed. Make sure your arm is relaxed, sitting on a table. Make sure you're not trying to force it too much, because pendulums will not be based on your willpower. They are based on connection to spirit. So I just want you to keep your crown at that golden neutral color, and I want you to just stare past the crystal and just keep practicing. So we kind of touched on this a little bit in the meditation, but I want to talk about how pendulums actually work. So what they do is they connect to your own electromagnetic frequency, your own field. So they basically, I don't know what the word is, they relay the information that is already in your field. So you are a very psychic being. All humans are. We are incredibly psychic. We have this third eye chakra. And the difference is between like people who call themselves psychic and people who think they're not psychic. The only difference is that one has used that muscle and one has not. One has been practicing and flexing that third eye, and the other has not. But at the end of the day, everybody is psychic. And it's just a matter of how often you practice and flex that muscle. So you have information in your field all the time. And if you're watching this video, chances are you're empathic and you're very witchy, and whether you know it or not, like you're very much connected to the energy world. So you're getting downloads of information all the time. You know, it's kind of like when you walk into a room and there's like a bad vibe and you just like pick up on it like immediately. That's your electromagnetic field, your aura picking up on that information. So when you're doing a reading for yourself or for somebody else, what you want to do is call in their spirit and their energy into your space so that you can actually have that electromagnetic information in your space. And so we do that by changing the crown color, and we also do it by staying in the center of our head. Okay, and if you don't know how to do those two things, I suggest watching our other workshops about crown chakra sovereignty and the third eye, and really stepping into the place of the third eye. But that aside, if you have those two things down, what you can do is just invite somebody in. And what happens is that the crystal or the pendulum picks up on the information that's in your field. So you don't have to know with your own mind and your logic what's going on in their space. By them just being in your space, whether virtually or actually in person, you are picking up on that information, and then it's being translated into the crystal. So it's one of the reasons why it's super important to create sacred space so that you're getting crystal clear information. You're not getting information from, somebody's mother that's really trying to influence their space, or, your own mother, or the last person you talked to on the phone, or, the last person, like the last book you read and that author is in your space. We want to create sacred space so everybody's out except for you and their readee, and then you can get that information from a more powerful place, and so it's crystal clear. So one of the things that is really amazing to do is to practice this meditation of calling in that person's spirit and their higher self, and making sure that you ground out the space between the two of you. You ground out your own energy, and you ground out that person's energy for them, so that as you ask the questions, you get very crystal clear answers. If you're doing a reading on yourself, it's also important that you want to have crystal clear answers. So doing a meditation to clear out your space, to clear out your parents' energy, your children's energy, anybody, your neighbors, anybody who's in your space. Basically, any foreign energy is like what I like to call it. Anybody who's not me. Just ground it out of your space before you begin and do your pendulum work, so that you can get crystal clear information. Because the last thing you want is to ask a question like, should I make this career move? And instead of your higher self answering it, your mother's energy is answering that. And so you end up living your life based on other people's energy and getting that information based on what they want for you rather than what your higher self actually wants from you. So that's a little bit of a trick to get really crystal clear readings. So, in our workshop, when we did this live, we took a pause and we started to practice reading on each other. So, because you haven't taken the live circle, I'd say go ahead and start practicing on your friends, family, roommates, anybody in your space by just doing the meditation I talked about and starting to ask yes or no questions. And just start to get like very confident in basic stuff. So, ask questions that aren't going to invalidate you. Ask questions that might be a little bit more magical. So in our circle, we ask questions like, how many lifetimes has this person had? So you can ask for yourself, how many lifetimes have I had? And because that's an open-ended question, you can break that question down into a smaller question, a yes or no question, which could be, have I had more than 10 lifetimes? And I get a yes. Have I had more than 20? No. So I go into maybe. Have I had more than 15? No. Have I had more than 12? Yes. Have I had 13 lifetimes? It's a maybe. Have I had 14 lifetimes? That's a yes. So 14 lifetimes. And you can start to play and do those things with somebody else or with yourself. So that was just an example. I haven't had 14 lifetimes, but I just wanted to show how you can break down a bigger question into a smaller question. And then you can ask like fun things like, how many of those lifetimes were male? Were there more than five? More than six? How many were female? And then you can figure out that kind of stuff. So that's one of the ways that we're going to use the pendulum in channeling our magical creature lifetimes in the next couple weeks, as well as our Starseed family and a bunch of other really fun workshops that are coming up. So definitely start practicing this so that when you show up to our workshops, you can feel pretty confident. And if you have any questions, you can ask them to me in person. You can also just send me a message and I would be happy to answer any questions that show up for you around pendulum work as well. But before we go, I'd like to teach a little bit of a healing, a way to heal using the pendulum. So let's do it for ourselves first. I want you to just kind of sit back and close your eyes and just kind of tune into a place of tension in your body. And for me right now, I can feel that I have tension between my shoulders and my back and a little bit in my jaw. And one of the ways that you can use the pendulum is to unwind that tension. And you just do that by the simple intention of I'm unwinding the tension. So I allow my pendulum to start to go counterclockwise. And if you have to even swing it, go ahead and swing it. That's okay too. So just allow the counterclockwise action to happen. And as that's happening, I want you to imagine with your third eye that you are unwinding that tension in your body. And you might start to feel that you want to take some deep breaths. You start to relax a little bit, just the simple acknowledgement of the tension and the intention of release starts to break that up. And you can do it over multiple places in your body. I'm going to start to move to my jaw and anywhere else. And I just start to unwind everything. And as I unwind, I release it down my grounding cord. So that grounding cord that we created, that sacred space that we created, we are going to release it down the grounding cord. And now I want you to think about what you would like that energy to be replaced with. So I had tension in my shoulders, and that tension felt like a lot of just like anxiety. And so maybe what I would prefer to fill it with is some peace and calm energy. So whatever it is for you, whatever you'd like to fill that space with, go ahead and think about that. And I want you to set the intention of filling up by having the pendulum go clockwise And as it goes clockwise, it starts to spin and brew in and stir in the energy. For me, will be peace and calm. And so sometimes I see that as a golden energy with some sparkles in it, but I just allow the pendulum to stir that into the space, filling up where that blank space is with some things that would be beneficial for me. Perfect. So you can do that same technique of unwinding and then filling up using the counterclockwise pendulum swing and the clockwise pendulum swing in the chakras. If you know there's a chakra blocked, like specifically like a throat chakra, you can unwind everything that is in that throat chakra, release it all down your grounding cord, and then fill it up by winding it back up to the present moment with whatever energy you want to fill that with. So maybe it's confidence, maybe it's knowing the right words, maybe it's having the security to speak what you're seeing, to trust your intuition and whatnot. So it's a great way to heal yourself. So that is basically a pared down version of what we learned in our pendulum workshop the other day. It's always best to come when we're live, because so much more information comes in and you learn so much more. When I do these redo videos, I'm basically just teaching the basics. So you're getting the basics, but you're not getting all the little magical things and the practice. And we learned about like our chakras, and we gave each other great feelings, and we validated each other. And it's so much more fun to do it in circle and practice these gifts, because it's one thing to know them, but if you're not using your third eye and actually practicing it, you're not flexing that muscle. And so you're going to kind of get stuck in invalidation and doubt and not really feel like you have the gifts to use them. So I really encourage you to join our workshop and come and practice and play with us, because this is a space of fun and playfulness and allowing ourselves to just be. So I hope you enjoyed this Pendulum 101 workshop, and we hope to see you in our future circles. Lots of love, sister. Mwah. Bye.